What? Ran out of batteries? I don't understand. It's not working.
Mm.
Okay.
Yes, we have had plenty of noisy toys we have silenced.
It's all the practice.
Yeah, I clicked the live button. I think we might be live. YouTube just told me we're live, so.
I will. Oh, we are live. All right. The big screen says we're doing ovals.
Yes, I'm just warming up. I didn't warm up before we got on here, so clearly the warm up is happening. This is real, right? This is it's reality streaming. So
absolutely.
Depending on how long we go, I may have to bow out a little early today. I have an appointment in a little bit.
Okay. Well, it's very casual. So, whenever, come and go as you please. The space is free to all, and it's, and I think we're really gonna focus on Creature today. We have Creature has joined us this morning, and we really want to we want to catch up, and we want to know what's going on with your tattoo practice. And
absolutely,
yeah, we're really interested because again, it's like we've really kind of developed this fun little community of tattooers and artists that where we support each other, we give each other some feedback, and I draw these terrible ellipses. Well, it's good to get warmed up. I think you just you don't want to go in ice cold. You know what I mean? Have a little bit.
I even practice ellipses when I watercolored.
Hell yeah!
Because I'll do the ellipses in different colors and overlap, and let the watercolor thing happen where they blend together, and it's always a good way to warm up and go, oh, I really like those colors together.
I like your watercolors.
Yeah, I like your watercolors.
I haven't had time in a while.
All the ones you post are good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling much more warmed up and prepared for the show today, and so I think with that we can certainly get things going on. Good morning, everybody. It's so great to have you today. It's Monday, October 2nd. Happy New Month.
Happy New Month.
Happy Spooky Month.
New month.
It is the month of Halloween.
We love Halloween.
There's a Friday the 13th this month also.
I know.
Which is
I'm going to a Halloween party on that night.
Yeah,
I'll be reading tarot cards all night.
Oh, there you go.
Nice. Yeah, very nice. Well, good morning, Kyle. Good to see you. Oh, we've got
Morning.
Hey, Kyle.
How goes everybody?
Really well.
Good.
We're just getting caught up today. Didn't have the show last week. I was away on business. But it was a great convention. It's a gathering, cannabis festival and tattoo gathering. So it was a lot of fun. Hey, there's Mickey Schlick, everybody. Good morning, Mickey.
Morning, Mickey.
Good morning.
Great to see you all. I'm gonna do the thing real quick. So
The thing.
yeah, welcome to Reinventing the Tattoo, Guy Atchison's community for tattooers, collectors, apprentices, and the curious. So you can learn more about Reinventing and the curriculum that it offers at reinventingthetattoo.com. And again, thank you again for tuning in. If you're live, you can let us know in the comments like where you're tuning in from, or feel free to zoom into the show. There's more information about that on the homepage of reinventingthetattoo.com. You can also find this show and our other content as a podcast. It's available at the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. We also have a Roku channel, a Facebook page, and also a YouTube channel. So you can, there's so much available for you from us for free. But of course, there is some paid for content. You can find out more by visiting the courses tab here at Reinventing the Tattoo, where there's a special effects 101. There is the evolution, the canon, exercises. There's all sorts of options for you. You can choose a la carte, or you can, you can do it for yourself, or you can do it for your studio. Your apprentices. There's a lot of really great content for your apprentices. You can even ask for advice from Guy himself. And there's also a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. We also have a number of weekly staple shows. Yeah, there's the app, right? It's an app, Reinventing the app. So you can check that out. So what I'll do, I'm gonna run through our scheduled lineup. On Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, we have the Reinventing Drawing Group hosted by Jason Leeser. That's followed at Mondays, 9 a.m. Eastern, Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom. That's me. That's this show. You made it. As far as the rest of Monday, it's a busy day at Reinventing. 11 a.m. is the Tattoo Now show. At 5 p.m. on Mondays, it's Let's Talk About Feelings with Robbie Ripple. And at 9 p.m. Eastern, we have the subscribers exclusive drawing group, and that's hosted by Sandy McAndrew. You have to join Reinventing to get access to that, but it's a fantastic opportunity, and it's well worth the cost, and I think it's a really great time. You really get a lot out of it. So the subscribers exclusive drawing group. Let's see. So that's followed on Thursdays at 6 p.m. the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast. I think that Gabe has a show on Tuesdays and Wednesdays actually, but he's getting things going on. So I need to get my schedule all cleared up.
He's a busy guy.
He is busy.
Yeah.
And so, you're definitely going to want to, we're going to thank our sponsors, and I'd like to mention Tattoo Now. Tattoo Now is technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. So check out Tattoo Now. You can ask for Gabe. He'll get you all hooked up. World Tattoo Events. World Tattoo Events is the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. Lots of updating as conventions are rescheduling like crazy. So you can always find out what's happening in your neck of the woods by visiting worldtattooevents.com. And we would like to thank Guy Atchison for being the founder and the inspiration behind the Reinventing the Tattoo community. You can learn more about Guy Atchison by visiting guyatchison.com, where you can find paintings, prints, custom machines, as well as learn about Guy's story of being a painter, navigating his through the tattoo world. And so upcoming events, I want to plug the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. It's coming right up. It's coming right up, and it's going to be in beautiful Jiminy Peak in Massachusetts. So yeah, if you haven't got your tickets, you better buy them quick. They're going fast. But it's going to be a week full of fantastic seminars and great tattooers there. I'm going to go. I'm checking it out for the first time, so I'm like super excited. And I know that Mickey is going to be tattooing there at this convention, so we'll have to ask him about that. But with on that note, I think we've pretty much done our obligatory announcements and stuff. So yeah, that's it. Thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging in there with that. It was it's always a pleasure to see all of you. Welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
It is Monday for sure. It's, Mickey, so great to see you. It's always a pleasure we had you on the show a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, maybe longer.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. It was really great to, to get a chance to interview you and to, learn about your process. And again, I was just mentioning the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. You're going to be there.
I'm definitely going to be there. I don't know what the tattoo plan is yet. I'm mostly planning on hanging out. I haven't planned anything. So we'll see if anybody's interested in something. I'm looking for one big 2-dayer. And aside from that, I might just have the booth and hang out and draw and talk to people. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go, right? That's going to be, hopefully, this is what I've heard about it. I've never been to this convention, but I've heard that people leave it like more refreshed, charged, ready to sort of get back into their tattooing practice. Sometimes conventions, they can be a bit draining. You got to travel there, you got to get set up, do all the work you would normally do, and then clean up and get the hell out of town. And so yeah, it can be a lot to deal with, but I've heard really great things about this convention. I know Gabe Ripley is the promoter, so Gabe, if you're out there listening, feel free to chime in. You can let us know. I'm gonna check on the chat, so see what's happening. Yeah, good morning, chat. Jason Leeser.
Morning, Jason.
It's
Morning, Jason.
Morning, Jason.
He's got me drawing dragon claws.
Nice.
Mhm.
Nice.
yeah, I keep meaning to jump on his show too, but it's no more excuses, right? I'm always tattooing right then, but it would be nice to to be able to just sort of click in and tattoo and talk. I love that. So.
I used to tune in. I used to join his show all the time, and I love it. Just Sundays is so hard for me.
Right?
Yeah, it's well, again, Jason, we love you, love your show. And Jason said he's coming on in a few minutes. That's fantastic.
Cool.
Yay!
Love to have you, Jason.
Mhm.
Well, so Creature contacted me this morning. Creature, you wanted to come on to the show today. You wanted to share what's new with you, and we wanted to,
Okay. I need promotion. I need some help. I'm kind of in a pickle. So over the last 3 years, is not legal trouble. Over the last 3 years, I've devoted a bunch of resources, created my entire tattoo world, built a studio. I live in a residential area. Things have been progressing rather well. I thought we had it all worked out. I received the phone call from the architect. Now I can get into all the details and the coding and the zoning and the but it isn't really necessary. I got the phone call from the architect, and he said that I would have to fork out $150,000 plus just to have a teeny tiny little home studio. Now, they know that at the state building level, and they know that at the health department. And yes, they have won this round, I tell you, but I'm not done. I'm not done. And so what I have done is, instead of just whining, which I did all weekend, but don't tell, I came up with the idea to contact James, and I made, I believe it was 10 different packages on Instagram where you can flip through and see my work. It all has music. And also, so I'm trying to get in a studio. So there's my work in a nutshell. I live in Marion, Ohio. I've reached out to a whole bunch of studios. It's tricky getting into a shop if you didn't apprentice at that shop. So I've been working on that. I've reached out to multiple studios. Um, you guys know how hard I work. So I figured that, you guys could possibly say something if you like. And that's my tattoo world. On the other side of the thing, I'm also an author. It's not tattoo related, but I did create a really decent book. It's published on Amazon, which is a self-publishing thing. It doesn't get promotion. It's not expensive, and so it doesn't get seen, and people don't buy it. But it's really good, and I've been putting this forward to different publishers, and I've received many people to contact me, and the last one, they were amazing. They said that the book was excellently written. It was exquisite, and it was exactly what the world needs right now. No, those are their words, not mine, but I'll take it. I tried. So I'm trying to gather up $9,000 to get that published, to get that out. So I've created that as a package. All the descriptions are in my Instagram at Creatures Cave. Please check it out. And I really appreciate the moment to spotlight. Oh, look. My stuff is coming up on the screen.
So thank you for for giving us this update, Creature. We've been following your journey here, and I think there are some there's some really good work that we can sort of talk about here, and maybe there's some feedback that we can give you that's going to be really beneficial. And we want to also promote you and help you get into the right shop environment for you. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise, as it were. You know what I mean? Or just an opportunity. So
Absolutely.
Thank you. Is there any one of these pieces that you want us to look at specifically? Or of course, like, our panel here today, perhaps we could, perhaps there's ones that we, if you want to see one particularly, we could, maybe talk about it. This might be a real opportunity for you to hone in on your strong suits, really sort of like,
Absolutely.
embrace your strengths, as it were, and that's going to help.
So each one of those that you're showing is 10 pictures.
Okay.
And they have a soundtrack. I've grouped them. Some are healed, some are fresh. I've labeled them. And at the very end, I throw a picture of just random stuff. Like there's me and Hip and me and Derb and, some other stuff to try to make some traction.
Right.
That was hard. That was the first attempt I ever did at a painterly style. I can't remember his name now. Benjamin. It was a wonderful piece. I can't remember the artist off the top of my head. It's not my design.
As far as the artist that's a wonderful way to go. You know what I mean? You sort of, there's like a stylistic, aesthetic sort of, resonance you feel with an artist, and you reproduce their work in a very respectful way, or even if you sort of take them as inspiration at some other.
I try to always give credit to the artist. My artistic skills are not as good as my tattooist skills. I'm happy to admit that, and I practice that. That's why I come to this show every week. So anyway.
Well, let's. I want to open up the floor. You know what I mean, to everybody, and so maybe we could give you some feedback. This one for me, I think that there's there's a really nice, as you know, it's like kind of squint at it a little bit. There's a nice level of contrast, you know, in terms of like there's a background that supports these very light, the ice cream and the frosting and stuff, you know. So, you know, if you didn't have that or a bold outline or something like that, you know, they would just sort of fall apart. But there's also a very interesting warm and cool relationship to the color that you were able to, you know, interpret or, you know, achieve from this artist's work. Right. Oh yeah, and there's like, look at this, like it's real like shiny, glossy chocolate there.
I was just looking at that.
That's nicely done. All the cherries are well rendered. Maybe some feedbacks. Anybody have any feedback on this one for Creature?
What did the background originally look like? Because it looks like the cherries are like super well rendered, and then some of the other parts have kind of soft edges where you wouldn't really expect. But the cherries are like pretty clean.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I tried to achieve a colorful photorealism with it. So I took their exact design, which they had ran through filters, which made it even harder. And so that's how I was able to do that.
You ran it through filters, or they ran it through filters?
They had run it through filters.
So what did that do to it? Did it change the colors, or did it change the textures?
You know how we can zoom in on the notepads and all that? That they had hyper stylized it, so it was really, really crisp and clean. I had an amazing amount of trouble trying to get it that precise.
What I like to do for that situation is come back at the end with a liner and then really carve everything out.
Okay, like a 3 or something.
Yeah, oh yeah, get in there. Something that's going to actually handle the corners like they need to be handled. And like all the, like this corner, the front corner right here between the front cherry on top of the cake and the cake itself, right? That little tiny, yep, right there. Like you could just carve that out a little tiny bit, and it would really change where everything's kind of focused at. Because right now it looks like the focus piece is on this cherry in the front and the very top cherry on the cake, and then the rest is kind of like getting a little bit out of focus. That if it was just like cleaned up a little bit in those little tiny corners with a liner, I think it would go a long, long way. But this piece is overall like pretty clean. I think one of the earlier pieces of advice that I got, I put myself in some really awkward situations and went and got portfolio reviews when I was like, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years in. And some of the things that I got were like, yeah, bro, stay away from outlines, and don't have everything in your book. Take your 10 best pieces and put those in there, because everything else that you have is going to end up, you know, they all affect each other and it all evens out. If you have 2 fucking super rad pieces or 10 super rad pieces and 10 kind of like older pieces or things that are not like what you're really trying to do, it's going to even out your overall quality as people as you're trying to sell work. You know what I mean? So if you are just say, hey, this is my dopest work and this is what I'm promoting, then I've had a lot better luck than just having like every picture of everything I've ever done.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Let's move to another one. It's Jessica Rabbit one.
Very clean.
Yeah, the lines they're very delicate. So I want it. Did you use like a gray wash or something to outline this, or is it like a lining black or something?
Yeah, it was a real. It was a mid-tone gray.
So that was that's gonna drop out on you, and then all the reds and oranges are gonna heal over time towards the flesh tone that's there, and then the gray or the blue in the arms is going to go towards a gray over time as it gets a little bit of sun, and the relationships between all those things is going to be different. And that's why really in tattooing there, you know, you can't get away. I wouldn't want to say you have to do a black line, although it's a pretty good rule, but you have to have crisp edges, and you have to have you have to have hard edges and contrast. So the most contrasty thing in this whole piece is this open piece of flesh in the middle, and then the black part of the microphone below it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if
Yeah.
like, if you had stuck to that line where it's like inside of everything, you'd probably be okay. But the outside line of everything, like the contour line that just like kind of traces the outside of everything, should probably be a little bit like crisper, because over time what you'll just see is that the color relationships, as everything ages, the color relationships aren't going to hold up, right? Like as that gray kind of goes away, and then that orange ends up being like, wow, why did I even put that orange there? Because it's the same color as the skin, and I could have just done like a brown shade on the leg that would have given the leg that dimension. It's gonna have a different feel after a summer or two.
Okay.
So
Thank
just FYI, just something to watch for as pieces come back over time, is like, hey, I see stuff all the time, and it took me moving to a place and being there over 5 years before I was like, oh wow, I was super confident about this before. Maybe I should not have been.
Absolutely. See, I love learning things. Thank you.
But it's pretty clean. I mean, that's just a
Yeah, they're
technique.
blonde and nice.
I mean, I think so. I guess I'm thinking about the movie, you know what I mean? And I remember, you know, and now that I'm like sort of remembering, you know, what this looks like, I bet the lines are very thin.
Oh yeah, and probably color lines too.
But yeah, that what I'm thinking though is like you could add your own artistic license here and go with a much bolder outline, especially if that would be more confident for you, you know. And I think it would, you know, it would add that some of that contrast that Mickey was talking about, and further support the, you know, those colors aging better. You know,
Yeah.
it could even be almost like a Art Nouveau sort of a take where it's just the perimeter. You don't have to hit every single line and make it bold, but like just sort of like almost like the cutout. You know what I mean? The whole perimeter of it, you could just give it, you know, a little more support that would separate it, you know, be that minimal sort of separator from the background. And that might, I don't know, that might like just really strengthen this piece. But it, again, I think, you know, I'm glad that you chose the first one and this one for this particular slideshow, because these are some of your stronger pieces, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got Jason Lisa, everybody. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Jason.
Hi everyone. I'm eating breakfast, which is why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're checking out Creature's portfolio. Let's see another one. Skull. Rad. All right. So, as I'm looking at this one, there's something that you did that I think this is something I learned it from Bob Tyrrell. A lot of times, you know, I like to render the skull like as the, you know, like the photo I'm looking at or whatever. But something Bob Tyrrell really talks about when he's tattooing skulls is the difference. You know, there's a difference between, like, you know, we're painting a painting versus tattooing a tattoo. There's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of things that we can find, you know, an analogy to. But anyway, Bob Tyrrell likes to really push the eye sockets and the nose, the nasal cavity. He likes to push them really dark, just like you've done here. And so, so I think that is I think that's really effective, right? I think that, you know, giving us this silhouette, it really does give us a lot of gives the design a lot of impact. So, and there's a simple graphic sort of relationship that it has there. I think that I think that the outlines on this one much bolder than the first, the Jessica Rabbit one that we were looking at. I know it's a different aesthetic, but it does have, again, sort of this graphic strength. Probably, I think if you get a chance to, to maybe give this one more pass or something, you might want to give some of the shadows, especially like these casted ones, you could always give it just a slightly firmer kind of edge, especially, so there's the shadows that are rounding out the skull, and then there's the shadows where they're kind of, the skull is like casting a shadow on the one underneath it. So, soft over here is nice, and then maybe just a little bit sharper there, something like that. I think that would be kind of cool. But yeah, maybe some other feedback. Does anybody have anything to add about this one?
So I like it. I think one thing that would have made it a little bit more dynamic, just my 2 cents here, take it or leave it, whatever. Instead of having
We
all of
love
the
your opinion,
skulls-
Jason.
Oh,
Beat it up.
stop. Instead of having all the skulls straight on, I think if you had varied their perspective and their angle a bit, maybe had like the top one going straight on, had maybe the one underneath it looking off to the left, and the one underneath that off to the right, and then maybe the one at the bottom, actually the one at the bottom could probably stay, since you'd be looking down on it, you'd be seeing more of the brow ridge anyway, and that's kind of what you got going on there. But vary up the angles a little bit more, make it a little bit more visually not necessarily interesting, because it's a very interesting piece to begin with, but make it a little bit more visually dynamic. Go with a 3/4 perspective, maybe have one turned all the way to the side, so it's profile view. Just thinking forward, that's just kind of where my mind's going with it. I think if you had that third one down facing to the left, and you had the second one down from the top facing to the right, I think it would have made it a little bit more dynamic of a composition, and probably would have helped move your eye around it a little bit more, instead of just being like boom, 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 boom. So I'm still waking up too. So
Thank you. I
what I
appreciate it.
just said doesn't make sense.
Are you using a tablet?
No,
No. Okay.
I've never used one. It's all analog.
Okay.
So when you're doing your skulls and stuff like that on the say the third one and the fourth one, so like the top two, it seems like there's a little there needs to be a little bit more information. So you got like that open spot on like the jaw, whatever, the jaw part, upper part, like underneath the cheekbones, needs a little bit of shading to help that out. And then kind of the same thing with the top one, just a bit more shading, just like adding more information. Like if it's a story, add as many details as you can into it reasonably. So yeah, that's the only thing I can really see, just some more like mid-tones, because I see a lot of darks and lights, and just some more mid-tones.
Thank you.
I think
Another thing you could try, I don't know if you have any like art stores, but you can generally go to an art store and buy like a skull. And then you can just like take photos of it in different positions. And if you do that while they all have the same light, while the light system's set up, and you put them all together, then the lighting on them all will match, even if they're in different positions.
I got one off of Amazon.
Yeah.
It's Halloween, guys.
Dollar
like-
Tree.
Yeah,
Go
for
to
sure.
any Spirit of Halloween, they have a skull that you can buy.
I
Guaranteed.
can, I also
It's
highly
super cheap
recommend
discount.
Dapper Cadaver. There's a place called Dapper Cadaver that sells props for movie sets that's all like skulls and baby skeletons and shit like that.
Baby
Skulls
skeletons.
Unlimited is a good
Nice.
one.
Dapper Cadaver.
Love it.
Could you say the name of that company one more time?
Dapper Cadaver. Yeah, there's a couple of them, but Dapper Cadaver is the one that I've used.
Excellent.
Nice.
Let's move on. Okay. This one is it has a very nice kind of traditional feel. There's a real nice traditional feel from the lettering, you know, to the way that you use the lines. I think that it gets a little, my feedback on it is that it's, you know, again, like I really like the way that you have this sort of negative on positive, that rhythm, you know, like right here where this arm of the cactus goes in and then it's inverted over here. Love that, you know, and maybe this was flash or something like that, but even still, like that you were observant and you were able to sort of pull that off. I think that's it's well seen, right? And so good attention to detail. It gets a little heavy right there, and so it you know, maybe it just needed that little bit of yellow or something. Just got a little tight, whatever the case. I think that's
Okay.
minor. It's a very minor thing because overall, it's, you know, you've got a lot of great contrast. I don't know how little this lettering is.
Is this a lower leg?
That is a forearm, a female's right inner forearm.
Were you working on it with the design right side up?
I was.
If you turned to the side and you were working on it to like the right hand, or I guess it would be the left hand side of it, the same side of the flowers on, you'd
Mhm.
have a lot more support for your hand as you're going down into the bucket. Right. So as you're trying to pull the lines on the bucket and there's nothing under your hand to hold it up because you're at the end of the side of her arm, it's going to start wrapping. If you turn yourself sideways, then you can rest your hand on the client a lot more stably, in a much more stabilized way, so that you can for like the top part at the bottom, like this. I'm just looking at how the straight lines on the side, you can kind of see that like the bottom underneath your hand is given away, right? Like you're pulling a line and there's like nothing there.
Yeah.
As far as like under your hand. And it really starts to kind of like affect things. And if you can get away from having to work on it right side up, then you might be able to find a little bit more ergonomic stability in there.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's a great tip. I'm gonna remember that. I never thought about that. I try to keep my elbow tucked into the ribs, you know, and I'm pulling the hard lines and get my anchor points down, but yeah. Huh.
So I don't know, maybe there's a difference of opinion and stuff here. I find that when I get all tight, like, you know, like my arm tight to my body, I'm not able to, it's not the way that I'm comfortable. I do like to brace my you know, my forearms a bit, you know, like, so like maybe my wrist or the bottom of my hand could be touching the client a bit, or maybe like I'm, you know, like using maybe a finger, like a pinky finger or something as a little bit of an anchor. But I like to be able to move the
it.
shoulder. There's a little bit, sometimes it's like there's a little bit of like wrist, you know, that I'll have. So I might tighten up for maybe sometimes for that. But I guess I don't know, what do you all think? How do you all approach the sort of, you know, how do you hold your body when you're making tattoos?
A lot of times I tend to use my tattooing hand, like the heel of my tattooing hand has another anchor point to stretch. So I usually have a good amount of support. But I can't always do that because some lines are big enough that I need to be able to go farther than the circumference my wrist can reach.
Yeah, that's something that, like, you know, one of my mentors when I was apprenticing, that, you know, he was really big about, like, you know, like, all right, so you're stretching with one hand, you know, and you're thinking about bracing your other hand on it or something, you know, like, don't do that. You have to figure out, you have to get comfortable with, you know, being a little bit of independence, because you might have a longer line, you know, you might have to, you know, again, like Amber, you're saying, you know, you'll use the heel of your tattoo. I'm right-handed dominant, but, you know, you'll sort of stretch with your other hand and then use the, the heel of your hand to sort of pull another direction.
Mhm.
3 points. But it's difficult. And I think I find I catch myself like sort of going back to, I don't know if it's how it became a bad habit. Maybe it's from drawing. You sort of get into this, you just get tight. You really focused on something you're doing. And then you're like, before you know it, you're all cramped up.
And you're like 2 inches from the client's body while you're tattooing.
Yeah.
It is a intimate process applying a tattoo.
Yes, it is.
Just as long as you're not trying to do the 2-finger tap on the tattoo.
Yeah.
To like go back a step. I think you're
No,
okay.
who's ever done that?
No.
I haven't, I promise.
I can neither confirm
quite
nor
often.
deny anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing, I feel like, especially with drawing, I like if my hand can move. And that's really actually my biggest problem with the iPad is I feel like I just can't move my arm enough sometimes. And one way to think of that, I'm sure this is all going to be definitely situational. Do you ride motorcycles, or have you ever ridden motorcycles?
No.
Okay, well, I would assume that having your arm tight into your body, if everything's tight and you can rotate, then at least it gives you a good pivot point. But it's kind of like being in a car with no shocks, right? Like it's going to pick up everything like that your whole body does. If you don't have everything under control, then it might be worth it to be a little bit looser and be able to, if you can pull a straight line like this across, then you don't technically really need the body under your arm like I was talking about before. But if you're leaning on the body and the body drops away, then that's going to make everything unstable. So just like, if you're coming in too much, or if when you pull in like that and you put your elbow in your side, are you pulling from like your shoulder and moving your whole arm back, or are you moving everything from your wrist?
I tattoo with my shoulder and
Yeah.
my elbow.
Yeah, definitely. That'll help a lot. And that's the way that I would recommend is what you're saying you're doing.
Okay. This piece was done probably almost a year and a half ago. It fit her personality perfectly.
I love it.
It's fun. She's great. She's
How
one of my
big
favorites.
is that tattoo?
2 inches.
I really
Oh.
like it. My only suggestion, because you did this with a 3, right?
Yeah.
My
three-
only
3
suggestion
and a
would be
5.
to take a. You did it with a 5?
A 3 and a 5.
Okay, my only suggestion would be to take that 5 and outline just the outline of the entire thing with a tight 5. It'll
Mhm.
only give a slight difference in line weight, but it'll make it pop off the skin a lot more.
Okay.
The variation in line weight is really important, right? And you're already doing that because you're choosing a 3 and a 5. But if
Mhm.
you chose a 3 and a 7, there would be more contrast, right? And another thing to consider, just to think about, I have no clue about you or what you're trying to do. This is. Do you want to do 2-inch traditional tattoos? Is that like what you want to do?
I like larger scale things. I started off doing smaller things. My mentor recommended it, and so I stuck with those for quite a long time. I slowly moved up in size. I tried to bite off more than I could chew a couple years ago, and it bit me in the butt. I've had to revisit it a couple times, but it's fine now. So it's to the point now where I'm trying to knock out a first session for, say, a quarter sleeve in about 8 hours. And do that so it looks good until the second session where I can go in and do details. But I've done quite a few smaller palm and hand size tattoos in reasonable amount of time?
I would just go back to my earlier thing and say, like, to consider as you're building everything up, curating your portfolio in a way that's like starts to, like, you want to maintain the stuff that's the best work for as long as possible, but you want to start downplaying the stuff you're not really trying to do, and you really want to start laying into the stuff you do want to do. And the stuff that's old, like, if it's not benefiting your portfolio, if it doesn't make the rest of your work look good, and if it's not something you're trying to sell, take it out.
Okay.
It's a thing that you did, but you don't have to like have everyone in there for all time, you know. And this has bitten me in the ass before too. I've gone back to a shop that I used to live by that, you know, was always a really happening shop. I wanted to go, you know, work there. And they were just like, bro, we do little tiny tattoos all day. You have no little tattoos in here. How are we supposed to, like, you know, nobody from the hills over here is buying a half sleeve. Like, they're getting like these little bangers. And I just kind of didn't really at that before, when I lived close to there, I didn't really think of it that way. Like, I knew some of the artists and I knew everybody was busy, but I didn't think of it as like, hey, you come in with your tackle box, you bang these tattoos out for 6 hours, you go home and somebody else slides into your seat and then they do that. There's not a lot of like continuing work that's going on multiple days and multiple sessions, and it's really high pace, you know. So like it's just, what do you want, and you start designing for that.
All right. My particular area, Fallen Bakers from my area. Everybody wants little bangers. That's about it. I'm about an hour north of Columbus, which that area, they have a lot more diversity. There's probably 1,000 different tattoo shops there that do everything, anything and everything. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think that's like, to be honest, that's such great advice. It can be difficult. It's also the simplest thing, but I feel like it's difficult to do, to curate your own work. You know what I mean? To really commit to something specific. It's certainly something that I'm working on as well. But I do think that it's a really great point. Let's check out another one. Let's see.
Whenever I put together a portfolio, I suddenly hate everything I do.
Oh
And
my
I
God,
don't
that's
think
where I'm at.
it's enough for the portfolio.
Right now, that's exactly where I'm at.
Let me back out here a little bit, and let's just take a broad, look at the work that you've got. We'll see if we can't, zero in on some things. What about this little baby Star Wars?
Grogu.
Grogu, is that his name?
Yeah. If you flip the page, it's the shiny version, I think.
Ah,
Yay! Everyone likes the shiny version.
well,
That's what 91% alcohol does on a tattoo. It makes it shiny like that.
well, there's a really bold outline. So I mean, from a distance, it stands out, almost in a stronger way than some of the other pieces that we've been seeing. And so I think that's effective. You've got a lot of line weight, a lot of line, different qualities of line weight and stuff that's going on as well. Color line, very, very thin lines versus this very bold, almost sticker-like appearance to it. And I even kind of find this, it seems like a stylistic choice that there's very sharp sort of edges. It reminds me of an artist named J.C. Leyendecker. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Leyendecker's work, but he would do these sorts of things as a very sharp line. You know what I mean? It's so again, if you're finding that you're gravitating towards a particular aesthetic device, keep using it. Especially if if people are liking it, it's effective. And it's also nice if there's a reference within art history, painting or tattooing or whatever. You could really start to look to these, to these these influences for more, I believe. But yeah, anybody else have any, want to give some feedback, some critique?
Would you be interested in going over to the synthetic I don't know, the clip I do?
Your synthetic skin?
Yeah, that it's up
Look at that.
further.
This one?
Yeah, there's 10 there.
Okay, cool. So
Those are all on synthetic skin. I order it by the giant roll from a place out of New Jersey. If anybody wants information on that, let me know. It's way better than the stuff you get at Amazon.
It is.
Um,
I get my shit from there too.
mm-hmm.
And my shipping is almost nothing because I'm in Jersey.
Yeah, here you go.
these all seem fairly recent. Interesting. I'm just sort of scrolling.
I like
through.
those little trash polka designs.
Thank you. All of this was from one of the dreaded online tattoo courses.
Yeah.
Yes. He taught how to work the machine on synthetic very well. I do very well with rotaries on synthetic. But I also have, other apprenticeships that, people signed off on me.
Well, so you're expressing this, confidence on the fake scan. You don't. What do you find different on the, like with the real human subject?
It's minors versus major league. I mean, that doesn't move. It's on a flat surface. Now, that's not all of them. That's just a nice cross section of some. I have over 250 that I've done. We made a mannequin and put him in the chair, and I tattooed on top of Marv. Marv is the mannequin. And that's how I learned how to transition from just a flat surface to a curved surface. But that synthetics are nice. They don't scream. I mean, they came out really nice, and I just wanted to share. I really like the work. I don't mind. I like black and gray, but I do like I like doing everything. Spirit, he mentioned neo-traditional, so he's got me looking at that.
Neo-traditional stuff.
It is cool. And then I've been watching Jason learning about Oriental stuff. So, I'm all over the place, I guess.
When I was about 6 or 7 years in, I took my portfolio over to Danielle Oberloser. I don't know if anybody knows who that is, but she was looking through my book and was just like, yeah, is this stuff new and this stuff old? And I was like, yeah. She was like, you should get rid of all the old stuff. And then she looked through it and was like, yeah, all this like realistic stuff that's super airbrushy, that stuff looks really, really good. You should do that. All this stuff with the line, you should just not do that. And then guess what? The next 5 years, that's all I could hear anytime I had to do any kind of line work, and was just like really busting my ass to where like nobody would ever say that again. And, play to your strengths, dude. The realistic stuff looks on point for where it's supposed to be, and then it looks kind of like some of the other drawings. You're not understanding maybe like where it's supposed to be, or you're looking at it and you're like, I connect this here, but it's kind of like, I forget which piece it was, but there's a couple points that could be kind of like not 90 degrees off, but like go into each other at a more obtuse angle, and you have them kind of going in like this, which makes them look really extremely sharp. Right. And just like, bro, there's a ton of people doing great off of black and gray realism because that's what they promote, because that's what they're really good at, and they probably don't even need to draw or do anything with lines, and it looks like, I feel like looking at your stuff, the stuff that's in the black and gray is a lot more on point to kind of like where you would think it is than some of like the flowers, right? Can you scroll over to the page of flowers?
Sure.
These are cool. I like
Gotta go.
those.
Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Cool, man.
Have a good day, Jay.
Where's these flowers?
This
right?
one. Yeah. So like I like the rose on the bottom the least. Right? Like all the rest of these look like pretty, especially the top right looks like it's on point, and then like the other flowers, they almost look like they don't have lines, right? Because they're shaded, I guess, like kind of more realistically. Even this one, the top right one has like the cluster has small lines, but it's clean, whereas the rose, you have some areas where it's like light petal against light background. Does that make sense? Right?
It
Like in
does.
the upper left-hand corner of it, like I would have either brought that dark around more to make it glow, but having like, you know, or bring the dark on the leaves up to the edge a little bit more so that it's crisper and it's not just like, I guess the way the whole thing's rendered, there's a couple places that look like there's lines, and there's a couple places that look like everything's shaded off the line. And so you can't really like make out the line, which I like. I like that part where you can't really make out the line. But to have a couple lines pop out like at the top of this rose, I have my mouse over it on my computer. I think like kind of throws off the realism aspect. I don't know what it is, but on this page, I do like all the flowers, and the rose is the one that sticks out to me.
Thank you. There was a question from Jen. Yes, Jen, I had purchased the Ben Fisher Ink Rush synthetic tattoo course, and these are some of the images. The first 30 days was published free on YouTube, and I did all of those. And then my spouse and I, we went ahead and purchased the full course, which was expensive. I learned quite a bit. Thank you, Mickey. I appreciate it.
Well, we want to welcome Jen to the show. Jen, so great you could hop on. If there was any other feedback, we're checking out Creature's work today, and we're, you know, trying to highlight some of the best, you know, of what Creature's done, as well as I think, you know, hopefully give you confidence to, you know, not that you need this permission necessarily, but just more or less like, you know, go for it. Go, you know, put out the things that are, you know, your strongest suit, and get yourself into the shop that you know, that's going to be a good fit for you. Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess that like, I want to sort of echo something that Mickey was saying, and that I think that some of the stronger pieces that I've seen are, you know, they are the black and gray, you know, some more realistic things. So nobody could, you know, nobody's gonna, you know, can force you to do something that you're not into, but these seem like, you know, these really make the most sense so far. There was another one on your page that was like, they were like comedy tragedy mask or something like that. And I thought that was fairly, you know, that was fairly well rendered in black and gray on skin.
Yes.
It's almost like, I think when we saw the skulls earlier, it's like, if you bring this sensibility to a piece like that, you know, again, like, so some guy did a course. I mean, it's, you know, not diminishing it. I'm sure it's a wonderful course.
Certainly.
But, you know, you can take your own photographs, you know what I mean? And you can make your own reference. I mean, you're improving it, you know what I mean? So you should be able to translate your own images, and do them to this degree, I believe. And then again, I think, you know, there's a nice point about the way that it's maybe a bit too harsh in terms of outline in a few places. But there are some wonderful moments of rendering that are happening in this one. This one is very stylized, you know, this flower appears very stylized, and that's cool. But perhaps it's, you know, perhaps there's something about rendering a, you know, photographic image that you seem to have an affinity for. At least stronger.
I love that daisy with the
Oh, let's go back to
dark shading around it on the left.
I think, I'm not sure what the reference looked like. I might suggest, if you can put a bit of shape to it, like more flow in some respect, that might be kind of nice. Something that like, my drawing teacher used to get on me about, or everybody in class was, was like this halo, it's like, again, that contrast, having that really, sort of that really, that nice relationship between the dark and the light is very powerful. But if it's just, if it sort of matches the whole contour like that, it can have a sort of a halo sort of appearance. So, like some kind of push, a little bit it'll add flow. It could, just sort of make it, a little bit more. So just a little something or other, just kind of give.
Yeah, a little direction on the shading or on the black background.
Right.
The other thing and what you can do for that, like when you design that out, I would draw the flower. I would draw like a little halo around it where you want it to go. And then a couple of lines through it where you want to shade out to. If you're on a tablet, I'd say you could just use the liquify tool and like smudge it out and just like make that really easily. I like that flower. It's the only thing is I think that you're really, especially on the upper left side of that flower, the same one James was just talking about, right? Yeah, like go down just a little bit before you hit the center of the flower, boom. So you're just losing the definition between the petals in there, right? Like if you had a little bit more line, or if you're using 2 line weights, 1 line weight for the inside of everything, and then 1 line weight for the contour line around the outside of everything, it would really help each one of those petals stand up. Because I think that's really the thing, right? Is you're losing the definition between like the petal and the petal next to it. But the rest of it is like everything's in the right spot. It's just like the little lines between the petals are not crispy enough. So you kind of lose that. Does that make sense?
Yep, sure does. Appreciate it.
Kyle asked something. I wanted to get Kyle in on that combo here.
Oh, okay. It was just like referring to like the courses that they were talking about, like the synthetic course. And I was just wondering if like, because like synthetic skin and like actual skin are like vastly different. So I was just wondering if like tattooing on the synthetic skin, if that's more of just getting an understanding of how the machine works compared to like actually tattooing, learning like your hand speed compared to the machine speed and everything like that.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
The comfort of writing or drawing, we've all done it so much that you don't even think about it. The pencil or whatever, it's just a part of your hand. When you pick up a rotary, if you're used to a coil or whatever, it's just like getting into someone else's car. It's a weird transition. You're like, I'm used to my truck and now I'm in this little, Cooper or whatever. It's just odd.
Yeah.
And so when I first did the 30 days, I realized that I couldn't pull a straight line for nothing.
Yeah.
Not worth anything. And so, I mean, I spent, 1,000 hours at least on this synthetic course, just learning how to pull straight lines and making them clean. And after I did all that, and I finally felt comfortable, the very first tattoo I did, which was about 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, took me 8 hours. It was just black and it was god awful. And I went back later and fixed it, of course. That was the deal. But I realized then it was way, way harder than just on synthetic. And I had to start completely over. I used the same techniques, but I had to retrain myself and remember, the first apprenticeship I had was in the early mid 90s.
Okay.
And that was more of a scratcher apprenticeship, not to say that he wasn't good, because Mr. Larry Ricksacker, my first mentor, very good, still friends to this day.
Cool.
But with him, I learned I learned positioning. I learned how to sell tattoos. I learned all the other things except to tattoo, you see?
Mm-hmm.
And so now I tried to get into multiple shops and that didn't work. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll learn this way. So
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to use the machine this way, and I tried both coils, and in the end, my first mentor gave me his coil and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Spalding and Rogers original. And so then I've been slowly progressing on my own,
Mm-hmm.
creating my whole world. But
Mm-hmm.
it was very helpful. It was expensive, but very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you're pulling lines and everything like that, what's like the one consistent, like what do you see? Do you see it like being too light or too deep? Do you see in blowouts? Like what's the one of the first thing that sticks out of your mind when struggling with pulling line work? Does that make sense?
Um, Not as much as I used to.
Okay.
I used to have a lot of trouble, like consistency of the thickness of the line weight. Well, I
Yeah.
found out that's because of my angle, and I was using liners instead of shaders. Because if
Okay.
you line with a shader, because of the not having the angle, you have a greater chance to not change the line weight.
Yeah.
But then again, you have to hold the machine a little bit differently in order to
Uh-huh.
do that. So, I mean, it's not that I'm really lacking anything anymore. I mean,
Okay.
there's always more to learn. Don't misunderstand me. I don't have an ego. It's more about, I think where I'm at is I just need to be in a proper shop.
Okay.
I, I really think that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
I've only done probably 300 tattoos on skin, on
Uh-huh.
human, and then I've done a couple, well, 250 plus on synthetic. I don't rush and I don't do I try I'm older, so I'm all these people that are asking me to do ridiculous things that I don't do, that's why I don't do them.
Yeah.
Um but
Okay.
that's kind of where I'm at.
Um, and so with like when you go to like different shops and like asking them about being able to work there and stuff like that, do they give you any feedback? Or do they?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the last shops I went into was more of an MC place. They wanted strictly American traditional. I
Okay.
tried to show them that I had some, and they didn't really. It was more just a ploy. Hey, you're not good enough. Go ahead and go.
Uh-huh.
Um, a lot of times they'll rough you up at a shop just to see if you'll come back. I get that.
Yeah.
I don't let it stop me. I went and I practiced a little bit more. That way, if I
Good.
get back that way, I can show them.
Yeah.
But in the end, like I went to one place, and this is when I first got involved, and I didn't know who Bob Tyrell was. So after the guy belittled me, I came home, and I mean, he really gave me what for not knowing. And then so I studied up on him, and well, he's still not interested, and things like that. There's just no shops around here more than anything. There's four. Nobody's
Oh, okay.
looking. Nobody's looking, and there is one shop, but that's one shop that nobody wants to go, and no one will go to work at.
Oh, okay.
Um, that yeah. So I mean, I've been told by every shop to stay away from there.
Damn, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's
I
probably
can,
something to that. There's definitely a couple local shops to me where like I won't hire you even if you've been there just because you're paying into the atmosphere that was previously, not already not cool.
thank you, Jen. Yeah, I yeah, absolutely. I've been trying to get in with name dropping a little bit. So because I have a bunch of autographs and I know a bunch of players in the tattoo world, like I got Derb to sign my book a couple times, hung out with him a bit, and Fawn and a bunch of other people. They've all treated me very well. So I've gone to all these different shops and I've talked to the owners, and like Durb used to skate with one of the tattoo owners in Ashley. His name's Joe. So I've talked with him a little bit, and everyone keeps trying to kind of send me to the right place, but it just hasn't been the right fit yet, I guess.
There's
I
timing has a
understand
lot.
that completely.
Timing has
The
a lot.
last shop, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You go.
I'm sorry. The last shop I apprenticed at, they didn't know who Guy Atchison was.
I've been to
And
a place where they hated Guy.
I'd rather them know who he is and dislike his stuff than have no idea who one of the greatest tattooers of, the 20th century and the 21st century is. He was literally like, who's that? I'm like, Biomech? He's like,
Yeah.
oh, that guy. And that really should have been the first red flag.
Mm-hmm. It's like mentioning Zuleta about tribal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that, yeah, timing has a lot to do with it. I've definitely been, there's times where people have showed up and I'm just like, hey man, I already just hired somebody else. And even though I like your work, like I just can't really do it right now. And there's other people who I've been like, man, I'm not ever going to hire again. And they happen to come on the right day when I had the right problem. And I was just like, yeah, you're in, let's go. So,
Mm-hmm.
I would say like be familiar with as many of those places as you can. And then hopefully when something comes up, you get an opportunity to jump in. Because sometimes like, they're not going to be on your schedule.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so that's another good point. You know what I mean? Let's see. So Jen was saying in the comments that Denver's hiring, there's lots of opportunity. There may be opportunities in other places. Maybe like you were talking about, even in Columbus, an hour away from you, maybe there's an opportunity there. I don't know if that's feasible for your life right now. Perhaps it's, it feels like it's inaccessible because just of your location. You're just not like on the same page with all the shops in your vicinity, for instance. But I mean, you keep coming to, you're a part of the reinventing community and you keep coming to, like engaging with us. And so I think you're clearly dedicated. There's a lot of potential in your work. And I think, I believe that there was a lot of really constructive feedback here. Hopefully you feel encouraged in many
I
respects.
do.
But also I think I'm going to take away from this personally, some of this advice, it's like, it goes for me too. You know what I mean? It goes for all of us. And it's a process that's going to, it's going to never end. Not that you can't resolve contradiction, only that another new contradiction emerges. That's all. You're never going to get out of it, right? But you can you can find, solutions to the issues, but new issues will emerge. It's our challenge, but it's also I think a beautiful part. And so, you're going to find a great shop one day, and it's going to be there's going to be some new bullshit that'll pop up. So I just think you're here. We're cheering for you. We are really like rooting for you. We want to see you flourish and do well. And I think I hope that you sort of walk away from this, the whole thing, like you're talking about, like, it seemed like all this deck stacked against you. The architect came back with some bad news and all that. And so you really have to sort of reconfigure things,
Yeah.
Don't give up, right? Just
That's
keep
right.
swimming, as they say in the movies. But I think it's really been this has really been it's very generous of you to, to kind of put yourself out here for us to see. I think it, so if you're out there and you've, if you're a shop owner, you got a place for Creature, reach out and, some encouragement or, even an opportunity would be great. But I think it would be wonderful if we went ahead and we did some sign-offs, right? We wrap it up because it's Monday after all. It's time to get to work.
It is.
Right?
Time to
Oh.
get to work. I know, but this has really been fantastic. Thank you, Creatures, so much for letting us take a look at your work,
Mhm.
letting us just letting us chit chat about it. I want you to plug your book one more time, right? You've written a whole book. It's incredible.
You've
So
looked at it.
I think so I haven't completed it. There it is. What is the, can you give us like a sentence that gives us the thesis, or at least the teaser, so that way, because maybe there isn't like a way to give away the ending.
There's an underlining sense of morality and societal necessities. It comes in the form of philosophy, science, and religion. If you take all of them, there's an underlining message. There's an underlying system. That system is in this book. It took me 30 years to write. It does not tell anyone that whatever their belief is incorrect. It just shows that they all are saying the same things in this perspective, and that the world can utilize that to help create a happier, safer place. Because I think all things come from within, and we can only manage ourselves. And by managing ourselves, we change the world. So that's what I believe. That's what I wrote. But it's called The Bride. It's on Amazon.
Buddhists call that a prayer field.
You could call it that, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. But yeah, 30 years plus. So that's that. I want to say thank you to you guys for taking the time to give me the critiques. I consider all of you guys my peers. I really do. And so it means a lot. And it is kind of hard to sit here and have your toes raked over the coals, but it's cool. I can take it. Thanks, Mickey.
Those are the things that when you're doing your work, you want to hear.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, that's what will make the biggest changes. It's the stuff you want to hear the least.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So thank you. I'll do my sign offs, but God, I love you guys. All right.
Thanks. Can I
Creatures
share a
Cave
video?
everywhere. Creature with a K, cave with a K. If you really want to see all of my hard work, it's not on Instagram. Go to the Facebook private group. There's albums and albums and albums of everything. So even AI stuff. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Creature. Yeah, it really is. Been such a pleasure. All right. So, Mickey, real quick, you wanted to share a video, is that right?
Yeah, so this is like my most recent thing that I've been working on. Not really tattoo related. I was hoping to catch Jason in here to see kind of what he thought. Hopefully I'll have a video of this coming out pretty soon once I get everything nailed down. But let's see. Share my screen. Is that the right one? Here we go. Can you see?
Yeah.
Is it blurry?
Yeah.
Should look like a blurry dragon.
Slightly blurry, yeah.
So this week the trick has been trying to like animate this thing and get it so I could do the camera moving across. That's it. That's my new thing.
Nice.
7 whole
Very
seconds.
cool.
Well, it really is Yeah, no, it really is just so magical. You know what I mean? And just that little bit, right? It's just the beginning of something that, is gonna, I don't know, I think it shows so much, like there's so many directions you could go with it. So I'm really excited to see that you're doing these new things and that you're sharing them with us. I think that's it's really encouraging. And
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
yeah, of course. Thanks for all the feedback. I got a lot out of all of the suggestions today, all of the critique for Creature. Let's do another sign off. Mickey, let me have you tell us where we can find you and where we're going to see you next.
I'm Mickey Schlick everywhere, and next place I'll be is Paradise Tattoo Gathering in a couple weeks. See you guys there.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Mickey. It's great to have you as always. I'll probably see you on Wednesday. So, yeah. So, Amber, let's have your sign-offs, please.
Hi, I'm Amber Morgaine, and I absolutely loved this week's episode. Not only because Creature was featured, and I love her work, and I love seeing how she's progressed over the past year or so, but because this really informed my work as well. A lot of these tips and things I can take into my work to improve my work. And you can find me everywhere under Amber Morgaine. Please ignore my TikTok. My daughter manages it, and she has 3 kids.
Well, Amber, it's great having you, and I'm so glad you could come on and contribute.
Hey, James.
And
She just said this was the Creature feature.
I heard that. I loved it. I thought that the creature feature, of course. Yeah, no.
It is October.
Thank you, Amber. Really, really awesome. Kyle,
Yes, sir.
let's have your sign off.
Oh, okay. My name is Kyle Olson. I tattoo out of Tucson, Arizona in a shop called Trinity Art Collective. If you want to get a hold of me, you can reach out to me via Instagram at Olson_tattoos, OLSON, and get a hold of me at trinityartcollective.com. And I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about anything. So thanks for the show today. It's been a lot of fun. And Creature, like, putting yourself out there, it's one of the best things to do. And good for doing it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. I really liked, you had some, I think, very important questions that you were able to ask Creature today. Again, I got so much out of it personally. And so it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today, Kyle.
Yeah, always. I love this. I love this so much. It's so much fun every time.
Awesome. Well, Jen, if you want to text a goodbye message, or if you want to hop on, I'm not sure if everybody can see. There you are. Hey, Jen.
Hey, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't always make it up for the 7 a.m. start time in my time zone. But yeah, I love just coming in and drawing while listening to the conversation. And I know you're probably tired of hearing it, Creature, but like, just don't lose hope. I started later in life too. I had a transition, and it took me 5 shops to find a shop that fit me. And I absolutely admire that you're going about it your own way. You're getting all of the information that you can, and you're going to reputable sources. I think that's, due for high praise. I'll be at Paradise, schlepping some camera gear and volunteering. So I'm happy to meet with anyone there. And yeah, my name is Jen, JHENN. You can find me on Instagram, Jen Tattoos, and that's it.
Jen, it's great to see you here with us. Always appreciate your perspective. You are, I think, a very gifted artist. You work really hard as well. So I think, it's great to see your development, and it's great to have you around. And so thanks for coming on today. And again, really great questions. And yeah, see you at Paradise.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to meeting you in person, James.
Yeah, you too. Well, it's going to be a fantastic event. So again, make sure to get your tickets. Go to paradisetattoogathering.com, I believe. You can look it up. Get your tickets, right? Get out there. It's going to be great to see all of you. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Creature, again, thank you. This has been Drawing for Tattooers. I'm James Wisdom. You can find me on the internet, Tattooing Wisdom. Thanks again to Guy Atchison for this platform. I think it's really, a beautiful thing. So we want to say thanks for that.